If you enjoy what we do here, you should definitely check out youtube.com/@MWPNewsGaming. It's our new YouTube channel where we do basically talking like this while also playing video games, old games, older games. We'd like to do new games, but those cost money. So old games, older games, retro games, forgotten games, all kinds of games. While I talk about it, get frustrated, all that kind of cool stuff. We talk about, movies, TV shows, anything like that. YouTube.com/@MWPNewsGaming. Please be sure you subscribe. That'll help us out a lot. And if you feel like we're doing a good job, please donate. co-fi.com/MWPnews. Thank you and enjoy this episode. Good morning, evening, and welcome to... morning, I'll just schedule it like normal. And welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. This week, we're here to talk about some news. And what that news is the Hunger Games. We've talked about the Hunger Games on this show almost since its inception. I think, going back, we started this show 10 years ago when we did cover the Hunger Games Mockingjay and Mockingjay Part 2 way back when. I think the episodes are up on the feed if you want to listen to them from back then. And, I think that these are kind of entwined with our DNA at this point. And I read Sunrise on the Reaping. I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I read the books when the first movie was coming out back in 2012. I remember loving Catching Fire. The point in all this is not me reminiscing on the waning days of my years in high school and early days of college. It is about... what's going on here? It is about us trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with this franchise. And I think that's an important and a valid question. Because what the fuck is going on with the Hunger Games franchise? So, the Hunger Games movies have been in development by Lionsgate, historically. And it's one of those things where it's if you ever want to point to a reason why you can't find the Hunger Games movies readily on streaming, it's because Lionsgate's the studio that produced it. Lionsgate does not have a proprietary streaming app, in the same way that Warner Brothers has Max and Disney has Hulu and Disney Plus, and Universal has Peacock. There's no Lionsgate app, nor do they have an agreement to to distribute on one of the other things consistently. They end up on Starz for a little bit because Starz is also owned by Lionsgate, and then from there, they kind of disperse to the wind. 2 years ago when we started doing the lead up to Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I rewatched The Hunger Games, I did it on YouTube because it was on YouTube with ads. And then I forgot where I watched the other three. But the point in all of this is, and right now they're all on Hulu, I think. The point in all of this is, I think that the Hunger Games movies have been kind of shortchanged in that regard, and I think that said, Lionsgate has done a pretty solid job with them. I mean, granted, Mockingjay getting broke up into two movies was just trend chasing, which you can't say Lionsgate doesn't do, but at the same time, it kind of just happened. So Mockingjay Part 1, Part 2 is kind of the only thing there, but I think Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, and it did enough money that, we look at that as a net success. And the point in all of this is, out of Cannes, there is the Cannes Film Marketplace, which is this big international marketplace where these big movies try to negotiate contracts with for international distribution rights. And the point in all of this is that way we can get better deals on these movies instead of bundling it with something else. Other studios will look for it. And Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the upcoming adaptation of the book that came out a few months ago about Haymitch's Hunger Games, that is the book. That was the big item, the big talking point with hundreds of millions of dollars being thrown around for distribution rights on this movie. And then we got this week's news reporting. Now, I don't have any insiders. I don't have any contacts at any studio. Oh, I do know some people at some studios. That's how I get screeners. I just reach out to people. I don't know them personally, and nor would I have someone at Lionsgate who would comment on the record about this. But it appears that there is some movement on how they want to do Sunrise on the Reaping. Apparently, it's not just the international film rights, that distribution rights that are up. There have been moves by Amazon and Sony to try and buy the worldwide rights, which includes U.S. domestic, for distribution. Now, Sony and Amazon both have larger distribution networks. I would say Sony larger than Amazon, because I think Amazon's big theatrical project has been like A Simple Favor, which got a sequel that was direct to streaming, and then also The Accountant. But beyond that, Amazon really doesn't have that much, which is kind of why this makes sense. If we look at where the world is right now in terms of streaming, there's a lot of uncertainty. This year, the best received Marvel movie in quite some time, with the Thunderbolts, did not do well at the box office. Disney has put a hold on all of their live-action remakes, except for Moana 2, which is currently in production, but everything else is kind of stalled out because Snow White fizzled, and, Lilo and Stitch did great, but what's that? And we've been seeing kind of the situation where over the last few years, especially in the post-pandemic period, viewer habits have changed to a degree that there's uncertainty from these major tentpoles. And one of the consistencies that we have is the Hunger Games, in a weird way. So it makes sense that Sony, who, aside from the Venom movies and Into the Spider-Verse and their co-produced Marvel Studios things with Spider-Man, their movies don't do well. Men in Black didn't do well, the Ghostbusters movies didn't do well, the, Morbius, Madam Web, and it's just that they don't do well. Meanwhile, Amazon's trying to push Prime as their primary thing, and if you look at Prime, the issue is they don't have, a ton of big stuff either anymore. I would assume Invincible's winding down. The Boys is definitely winding down. I don't think Gen V has the popularity that it does right now with The Boys not around. I don't think that we're looking at longevity for Rings of Power. Wheel of Time just ended. The Peripheral did not get picked up for a second season. The Power did not get picked up for a second season. So they've tried to make these inroads with these franchises and these big IPs. Well, the Power's a big IP. Fuck me. The general idea is you have all of these things that are kind of weaving in and out of each other. And if all of these things are not working for these two studios, it makes sense for them to try and find a safe port in the storm to do, the Hunger Games. Because the Hunger Games will deliver some consistency. And not the least of which with the Hunger Games is the fact that I think that if we look at Francis Lawrence, he has done a very good job of maintaining a visual style to these movies that is good. Look, Harry Potter's moving to streaming because the previous 3 movies did not pick up with audiences the way they had hoped to. So this idea that, one of these two studios, I'm not thrilled about either of them because I don't think I want Jeff Bezos' company being the one that's doing a story about the downfall of a totalitarian dystopia, because he's going to view it as a horror story, and he's going to, and I think that there's going to be some, even if he's not directly involved, there's going to be some pressure to kind of not dive as deep as you can with that story. And at the same time, over on, with Sony, the pedigree at Sony does not inspire confidence that the Hunger Games will do well. So it's one of those things where it's like, do I want either of them? No. The thing is, I was thinking about it, I'm like, the two studios I think should be in the mix for this should be A24, who's desperately wanted to get into big budget filmmaking, and this is the perfect way to do it, where you have a tried and true thing, and if you work mostly as a distributor, which is what they're good at, this is a good way to get your foot in the door with that. Plus, putting the A24 logo before the Hunger Games could add something to it, and it would create the artisan quote-unquote label that, Warner Brothers has been exploiting from AMC. But at the same time, you also have Netflix, I think, could be a major player. And I think that what Netflix could do is like what they're doing with the Chronicles of Narnia, what they're doing with Knives Out. They have a few big budget movies that they do these theatrical runs for. This could be one of them. And I think that that's something else that they could do very well. Now, do I want anyone doing it? No, not really. There's no good option here. None of the streamers are particularly good, so we'll see what comes of this. But we will. I think that this is worth addressing and it's worth keeping an eye on, because I think that if this is a shift, we're starting to see the beginnings of the shift of the streaming era coming to an end, and I think it's time to start, battening down the hatches, because there's going to be a storm that comes in the next 3 to 5 years, and we should just prepare for that. But we'll wrap up there for today, and next week we'll be talking about Elemental, I think. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.